Hi everyone, you are listening to Raising Rockstars. I'm your host, Lulu Davis. I'm an artist manager in the rock and metal world. I'm currently managing the likes of Unprocessed, Caligula's Horse, Earthside, and many more bands. And I have been working in this field now for over 10 years. I was also a publicist for quite a while, and I specialize in marketing, PR, small business development, and I'm a very proud and enthusiastic advocate for more women in music and women in more artist management roles, because there definitely aren't enough of us out there. So I would definitely like to encourage this a little bit more. And that is also one of the predominant reasons why I'm doing this podcast, is to hopefully educate and also empower more women coming through the industry, and to also give everyone, not just women, just everyone, a little bit more insight as to what this career entails, because it's an exciting career. It's something that is very fast paced, very exciting. At times it can also be quite stressful. There is a lot of hosing down the flames on a week to week basis, definitely. But overall, it's just extremely rewarding. And it's something that I just wanted to dive into a little bit more, because while I was at music festivals this summer, namely Radar Festival, someone came up to me and they said, "Hey, are you Lulu?" And I said, "Hey, yes, how can I help?" And they said, "I was chatting to someone from one of your bands, Earthside, and they advised that I should just come and have a chat with you, because I'm actually really curious about what it is you do as an artist manager, what your responsibilities are, and your job seems super cool. What is it?" And it actually led me to understand that not a lot of people actually know what it is that us artist managers do on a day-to-day basis, because a lot of it is just behind the scenes work, which, that's just what it is. We are here to work for our artists, and the artists are the people who are public figures. They are out in the world showcasing their incredible artistry, and they're performing live, and they're spreading the word of their amazing talent. And as artist managers, we are the people who are just responsible for a lot of those activities, and to try and get the music heard by as many people as possible. So I thought I would do something a little bit different today and just go through a little bit of what our responsibilities are and my take on it, because everyone has a little bit of a different perspective. And one thing that's probably notable is artist management can also vary between genres. It can also vary between the kind of act you are as well. So a solo pop artist, for example, needs probably a little bit of a different treatment to like a K-pop act, for example. A rock or heavy metal band also needs extremely different treatment to a hip-hop act, for example, or a music producer or a DJ. There's a very broad spectrum of creativity that requires very specific attention depending on the artist's needs and their niche and the networks that you're operating in and the kind of circles. So today I wanted to open up a little bit of a document, and I kind of wanted to just brainstorm with you and go through a bunch of the stuff and just talk a little bit about it, because I thought it might be interesting. Maybe not. But it also will just give a little bit of a better overview as to my approach to artist management, particularly in the rock and metal world, and some of the things that I'm currently doing for the bands that I'm working with. So let's have a look. What is artist management? If I can actually type today. Oh my God. I think I've had enough typing this week. It's like literally my fingers were on fire yesterday typing email. I was just like, ah. Anyway, so what is artist management? What is the role of an artist manager? Artist managers are responsible for the business decisions and negotiations for their clients. For me, artist management is transforming artistry and creativity into, let's say, viable business. Managers have a duty of care to their clients. That's also a very important one. It's very important that we have trust and communication with our clients. I'm going to add this: build trust and communication, and have transparent, literally cannot type today, with our clients. Oh my goodness me, what is going on? I may just have to slow my brain down a little bit because I think my brain is working faster than I can physically type. So yeah, we're responsible for the business decisions and negotiations for our clients. We're responsible for transforming artistry and creativity into a viable business. We have a duty of care to our clients. We need to look after them. We have to make sure that both their mental and physical well-being are being taken care of. We also responsible for making their goals and dreams come true, like basically just sitting down, and I'm frequently asking my bands like, hey, like, you know, what's your bucket list goal? A prime example of one that I worked extremely hard to get for many, many years was getting Voyager to Eurovision. And that took a really, really long time, but it was something that we chipped away year on year. And last year we actually made it. And I guided the band to a top 10 position at the Eurovision Song Contest on, you know, behalf of their country, Australia, which is really wild to think about. That's something that I would say is a strength of mine, is like when I understand what my clients want long term, that's always what we're working towards. So for me, it's really actually important to know that and to go, hey, like, what bands do you want to tour with? What venues do you want to play? What's your bucket list dream? It could be playing with an orchestra. Or it could be collaborating with another huge artist. It could be performing at a really prestigious venue like a Red Rocks or a Sydney Opera House. But it's really good to have these goals in mind, because it then also just allows me as a manager to also just really try and make those happen. And it might take a really long time, but for me, that's one of the most exciting parts of being an artist manager, is that to get some of these dreams happening. Voyager performing Eurovision definitely was one of those bucket list items that we had for many, many years. And it was so perfect for them, like huge testament to their hard work and enthusiasm and the authenticity as well towards this goal, because Danny, the vocalist, just loved Eurovision. He grew up to Eurovision. He was just like the biggest Eurovision fan. And that played a huge part in us developing that relationship as well with the team who were responsible for picking the band. But it took a while. It took a while to build that trust. Constant advocating for your clients where their goals are concerned, representing them in the most meaningful and best way possible, negotiating on their behalf, generally just also being their biggest fan. For me personally, it doesn't work if I'm not a fan of the bands that I'm working with. If I really, really don't believe in what they're doing and I don't have a high level of enthusiasm and belief in the client, then it takes out the authenticity of what I'm doing. And that kind of defeats the whole point, because if I'm going to someone and I'm selling my client and I'm like, hey, you really need to have this band on your tour, but I don't think they're very good live, that means that I don't have confidence in that. So I need to have confidence in the fact that I know my client is incredible live, so that I can take this pitch to someone and be like, hey, you really need this band on your tour. These are the reasons why. Here is the evidence as well. Like, here are the shows that they've done. Here are the live reviews that they've had from prestigious magazines, basically stating that their show blew this person away. And also, here's photographic and video evidence of that as well. So just a few examples there. It would probably also be a good idea to have a little chat as well about how we kind of categorize our work. Project management skills are hugely important when it comes to artist management. And each of my clients are their own project in and of itself. So for each of the bands, we have the separate projects that we have going on. But under each of those bands, we have album releases, we have single releases, we have touring, we have negotiations, we have budgets, we have merch, we have all these sorts of things. Let's call this categories. Yeah. So let's say album and single release. So planning of music production. And in this, we have the recording, mixing, mastering. We also have pulling together the artwork, photo shoots, music video planning, and then we have the release strategy. So we would then create a timeline for the release. We would figure out like, what month of the year are we releasing an album? How many singles are we having leading up to it? When makes most sense to strategically release some of these singles? Do we have any shows? Do we have a support tour? Do we have anything else meaningful around that time that makes sense for us to promote some new music? A lot of the time it makes sense to drop a new single before a tour or before a bunch of festivals, because that brings in a few new people, gets us to push those events. So that's generally the approach we take. The month of the year that we release an album, nowadays it's not very specific, to be honest with you, because I've literally had bands release albums every single month of the year, and you just make it work depending on what plans you have. So that's why we also like to plan significantly in advance. And these days I actually have even like 2-year plans for our artists so that everyone knows what we're doing, or at least what we're working towards. These plans frequently change. I might hasten to add, but ultimately we try and just structure it a little bit. We also look at touring schedules. And this could be, we could plan headline tours, support tours, festivals. It could be entering new markets. It could be further developing those markets. It could also just be one-off shows, release events, special events. It could be we do something with orchestras. It could be band does DJ set. I don't know. I haven't actually had one of those. I'm just brainstorming off the top of my mind. So, something like that. When we go through live and touring, here are some of the responsibilities as well. When we have a band touring, whether it be nationally, internationally, whatever it may be, we always start with a budget. Then we look at crew. Then we look at transport. Then we look at other logistics. Then we look at merchandise. Then we're also looking at things like VIP or masterclasses. So just to give you a bit of an overview, like these are just some of the many things that we're taking into consideration when we have bands touring. We're also looking at visas. We're also looking at tax implications. There are a lot of territories that implement withholding tax, and there are various ways that we have to navigate that. And sometimes we do that with our accountants. Sometimes we do that directly with our booking agents, the promoters, etc., etc. So that's also a bit of a complex thing when you get to international touring level. These are some of those tasks and responsibilities within the live and touring realm. Let's talk a little bit about PR and marketing. Now, I was a publicist for 10 years. And I've definitely seen a big change in the media landscape over the years. There are different types of media that just have different levels of impact nowadays. I think it's still important to have a publicist when you have a band that is relatively established and who has a bit of a story and who wants to make a bit more of a splash with their album. So if you're a band that has budget, you have a decent story, you have a bunch of activities going on, including tours, and generally like your album is really set to make an impact, like definitely have publicists on your side. Definitely good to focus as well on the different territories. We can look at hiring publicists in different territories, and if you have a label, they will generally have this in place anyway. If you're an independent band, this may be an activity that you're doing like independently. It may also be the case that you may have a band who are on a record label, but maybe they just need a little bit more of like special attention, or they have like a very specific need or approach that having an external publicist would just bring an added level of value. So if your label has the budget for that within the marketing budget for your client, it's sometimes good to explore those options. Other times the in-house publicity team can also just do an amazing job, but it also depends how many clients they have and that they're working on at the same time. And if you feel that you don't necessarily want to compete with too many other people within the label, because especially during busy release times, some of the in-house publicists are overloaded with so many releases, and it's not necessarily their fault. That's just how it is. And so it's sometimes good to just know that someone really is taking care of your band. I would also look into genre relevance. Sometimes it's been the case whereby an album it's slightly outside of the remit of what the label normally does. So like I had this with Voyager. So Voyager signed to Season of Mist, who are renowned for working with a lot of like black metal and death metal and a lot of genres that aren't necessarily progressive metal. And so for a couple of the territories, we actually opted to hire a publicist that specialized a bit more within the music that Voyager does, because we just really felt that we would benefit from having that special attention and those contacts, and worked really well for us in the end. There were also times whereby we did use the in-house publicity team as well. But last year in particular, when we did Eurovision, it was really good for us to have this like external attention, given that we are really hitting it on like a national media level with like your BBCs and The Guardian and Metro. If you type in Voyager Eurovision into Google, you basically see like every media outlet under the sun covering them, which is sometimes a little bit more than what your average rock and metal publicist would be focusing on, because normally those bands don't really cross over into that realm. So that was quite an interesting experience for us. Budget as well, taking into mind budget. Tour PR. If your band is touring, it's always good to have someone focusing on tour press and inviting people to come and review the show, maybe do a couple of interviews, photographers as well, just so you have that presence at your shows. Normally, if you are on a support tour, for example, for a more established band, then 9 times out of 10, the headliner would have already sorted a bunch of tour press. Marketing as well, so digital marketing. Digital marketing is where I'd put all your money, to be perfectly honest with you. Marketing pre-orders, marketing your singles, marketing your tour dates, anything that you can have a bit of a decent call to action. Pre-order the album, order merch, buy tickets to the tour, stream our new single, watch our new single on YouTube. All of these things are all relevant for digital marketing, and I would definitely advise spending a decent amount of budget in that area. Now, we can talk a little bit about print marketing. It really is on a case-by-case basis, like the relevancy of print marketing these days. And I think more so for much more established acts and for bands that cater to maybe a slightly older demographic who are more inclined to buy magazines. Because if you're a really, really small band that nobody knows, but then you take out an ad in a print magazine, 9 times out of 10, someone's going to be flicking through that magazine and they'll see maybe a photo of the band or whatever it is that you're advertising, but then they'll just carry on reading. People can't listen to the music that way. Like, you don't just look at like a photo or look at a page in a magazine and go, oh yeah, this is a really cool band. Online, you can immediately see the visuals, you can hear the music, it's interactive. So unless you're an established band that is promoting a tour and everyone already knows you, and they open the page and it's like, oh my God, Dream Theater have a new album and a tour coming. Oh, we need to go to the website and get tickets or scan the QR code. Wicked. But I think when you're more of a development act, I would say it's a risky investment. So just be careful with that. There's like a time and a place, I think, for print advertising, and European magazines in particular, they operate around advertorial, which is basically editorial and advertising. So you pay for editorial in a magazine. So if you want an interview in one of your prime European metal magazines, it's more than likely that your label are probably paying for some of that space within the magazine. And in turn, you will get a feature, a review, and you'll also get an ad there for the new album. Like, that's how that works. And that's definitely a more frequent approach across Europe. So we can talk about, let's say, print advertising, advertorial. We also discuss frequently with our label partners and also with the band where's appropriate to put that budget. Just strategy in general. As artist managers, we're always having an open discussion with our clients about what's the immediate strategy, what's the long-term strategy, what are your goals? Where are we going? Who are we doing it with? What's the most meaningful demographic to this band as a whole? Like, who are the people who are buying repeated live tickets to shows, who are purchasing the merch, pre-ordering the albums, streaming the music, signing up to Patreon, interacting in Discord or whatever it may be? Ensuring we reach meaningful fans long term. So like I've had bands where they've been offered support tours in America. And I had a scenario recently whereby I had one of my clients get an offer for a very like pretty established tour. And we're talking like 2,000 to 4,000 capacity. And while this is really exciting and it's amazing to actually receive an offer like this, but we zoomed out and we looked at our long-term strategy. We look at the kind of music that we're making now and the direction that we're going in. We actually made a very meaningful evaluation on the situation. Because most bands, they would be like, yes, let's go. But we didn't feel that this demographic was like spot on for what we aim to do in the future. And so these are the kinds of decisions and discussions that we have to make, particularly when you're investing so much in a tour like that as well, because these tours are very, very expensive, particularly in the States and when you're on the road for anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks, for example. So strategy, making decisions on development activities such as touring. Collaborations is a really, really big one that we've been focusing on recently. And I've been working with bands who follow a collaboration model for quite some time now because I manage the band Earthside. And actually that's at the core of their model. They feature a lot of guest musicians, a lot of guest vocalists. They've had guest orchestras. And they just have this amazingly collaborative model where they invite people of like super high artistic capability to really bring something to their music. And it's really made them stand out over the years because what they've been able to create as a result of that has turned heads. And we're seeing it more and more now across all genres, these collaborations that kind of open up the music to new fans. We're doing these crossovers. You're seeing people collaborate within similar genres, within completely different genres. I'm all up for collaborations, and I think that's definitely the way of the future as well. It's also a really incredible opportunity for artists to connect with other bands who either they're a fan of or someone may be a fan of your band and asked to collaborate with you and so on and so forth. I think it's just really cool to build new relationships and also work with their teams as well. Working with new teams, exploring new opportunities, creative direction, something that we don't really do within this genre because we are like big believers of our artists and we don't generally get involved with the songwriting process or anything like that. Sometimes there might be a little bit of feedback on the production elements, like in a mix or a master, or maybe sometimes we might have an idea for a song, but generally only really if I feel very strongly about something, I'll make a suggestion. And again, that's born out of trust with the client as well, because you have to really feel comfortable with them and they have to feel comfortable with you to make a decision like that. Sometimes we're doing like research when it comes to artwork and music videos. Most of the time we'll just lean on the artist and say, what inspires you recently? What kind of music videos do you love? What are the examples? Have you seen any directors that you want us to get in touch with? So on and so forth. Historically with some bands, we've worked with the same team through and through just because we simply trust them and they know who we are and what we like, and we trust them to give high quality output. In terms of our partners, who are we working with on this album cycle? Are we happy? And this is one thing, like I'm constantly evaluating the teams for my clients. Constant evaluation of the teams and what they're bringing to the table. A lot of people probably don't want to hear this. Pretty much every album cycle, I'm like, I sit down with a band and I'm like, right, are we happy with everyone? Like, are we happy with the label? Are we happy with the publisher? Are we happy with the booking agent? Are we happy with our merch partners? Are we happy with photographer, music videographer, whoever it may be? And we're always just sitting down and just having these like ongoing discussions because I think it's really important, and it's important as well to keep it fresh. If we feel that someone doesn't encompass the enthusiasm and the dedication for my client as much as we have, then you're out. Like, I literally have a zero tolerance policy towards people who are just like not delivering the results and not bringing to the table like a shared vision, because that is so important. Like, as a manager, it's also our responsibility to ensure that we have the strongest team possible, because these are the people who are representing your clients and who are fighting for the cause, and we all want to go up. We don't want to stagnate. So that's a really, really big thing for me personally. Ensuring teams are delivering with enthusiasm and great results. A lot of the time, I have a lot of confidence in the teams that we're working with. And this is why bands stay with labels for a long time and they renew their deals and we continue the partnership because they just do consistently good work. And other times, we'll be with a partner for one album cycle and then we'll quickly realize this is not working. They don't get what we're trying to do here or whatever it may be. So that's also one of the harder part of the jobs because as a manager, we're also responsible for choosing these people to begin with and taking risks. And we always have open discussions with the clients and we present all of the reasons why we want to work with a certain partner. And it can also be that at the time, they really are the best fit. But then in time, you just realize this isn't working or there's an incompatibility here, whatever it may be. And that's fine. That's life. And again, this is just business. This is just how we have to roll in this industry. So that's, just one of the many, many things that we have to work with. Another thing as well is just thinking outside of the box. What are the other revenue streams that, your clients can have? Actually, no, let's just backtrack a little bit. So revenue streams. These are the pretty standard revenue streams. Streaming, record sales, digital and physical, merchandise, live merch, live show fees, let me think, publishing income, digital products like tabs, for example, is a popular one with a lot of the more progressive acts who we have bands who want to do guitar covers and stuff like that. Tabs, producer packs. Occasionally we want to think a little bit outside of the box for the clients. And it could be that one of your musicians is an insane guitar virtuoso, like Manuel Garner Fernandez, for example. Or you've got someone who actually works within an academic background, like a Sam Vallon from Caligula's Horse. So we can look at guitar or instrument lessons. We can look at solo albums. We can look at masterclasses for endorsement partners and sponsorships where you can get certain budgets for doing content or marketing collaborations with them. We can look at signature guitars. And again, it takes a long while to develop an artist to get to that point. But when you do, you can have a signature guitar and then that's awesome. You could do things like tab books. We can also do VIP sessions on tour. This is something that was hugely successful for us with a bunch of our bands this year. And it's something that we will continue to do and develop in the future. So yeah, that was a fun thing to explore. With Voyager, when we did Eurovision, for example, different opportunities outside of the genre. So I would say that's a solid overview of a bunch of the stuff that we do as artist managers. And hopefully that's giving you a bit more of an insight. I'm sure there's plenty more stuff as well, but I just wanted to scratch the surface a little bit and just go through some of these categories and just talk a little bit about some of these things because it will definitely give a bit more of a transparent overview of what we're doing every day. It's hard work. And there are a lot of things to juggle a lot of the time. And again, project management and time management skills are just crucial as an artist manager. Patience, negotiation skills. There are so many things that you need to be or have as an artist manager. And it's taken me many, many years to develop a lot of these skills as well, particularly in a very male-dominated role. And I now have a lot more confidence than I used to, but there definitely was a time whereby people would underestimate my abilities purely because I was a woman and they wouldn't see me as a businesswoman or capable of negotiating deals or gaining decent opportunities or whatever. And for me, that's something that's taken many, many years to earn the respect of my peers in this industry. And you do that by just doing the job. You have to just do it. Nobody taught me how to be an artist manager. I just did it. And it got to a point in 2019 where I was accepted on the inaugural accelerator program with the MMF, which is the Music Managers Forum here in the UK. And I was very fortunate to get some funding to develop my business at the time and my efforts as an artist manager. And that really was life-changing for me, because I got lawyers, I got accountants, I invested in a new website, I expanded the company, I brought other people in. I then just really honed in a lot more of these like business development skills, which in turn are transferable to what you're doing with your clients as well. And then the pandemic hit the year after, which kind of sucked. But now I work with a whole bunch of other people, and we support each other, and we celebrate each other's, strengths, and we support each other whereby someone may have a weakness or a gap in knowledge or a gap in their network. And it's amazing now to actually be working with other people, because I operated by myself for such a long time. And now I really appreciate the support and the network that I've built for myself, both locally and also internationally within the music business. I love being an artist manager. It's definitely a lifestyle choice, I would say. And I think I describe it as a calling, and it's not something to be taken for granted or lightly, because you are responsible for the careers of many people. And I don't take that lightly. For me, it's such a huge responsibility and an honor to work with the clients and to represent the music and them as people. But I absolutely love it. Hopefully you found this insightful. And yeah, as always, I welcome more feedback and questions, and I look forward to the next episode of Raising Rockstars. Thank you again for joining me. My name is Lulu Davis, and I'll see you next time.